This is ABC.
Good evening. Coming up next, a special edition of Action News Tonight, a look back at the day of justice for many people as the body of Ted Bundy was removed from Florida's death row.
Good evening. This is John Wilson reporting from the state prison at Stark, which is quiet now, unlike the atmosphere earlier today, which resembled a kind of macabre Mardi Gras. Details coming up.
And the issue is how this kind of literature contributed and helped mold and shape the kinds of violent behaviors.
And final thoughts from Ted Bundy in the final hours of his life. Join us for this special hour-long edition of Action News next.
When your child has a fever, reach for me, Pandy, the Children's Panadol Panda. Children's Panadol is recommended by more and more pediatricians. They know it's aspirin-free. And nothing beats Children's Panadol for reducing fever fast. Next time your child is feverish, listen to your doctor and look for me, Pandy, on aspirin-free Children's Panadol. More than medicine, it's peace of mind.
Ma'am, Wendy's is lowering the price on its delicious quarter-pound single. What do you think?
And I have to guess the price. Oh, so it's like a game show.
No, not really.
Now, before I guess, tell me what's on it.
Well, it's...
Oh, no, I can see. It's a hot and juicy burger right off the grill with fresh toppings. So, wait, how much?
Ma'am.
Oh, the price.
Ma'am.
No.
Ma'am, we've got the price. It's 99 cents.
Gee, if you're not going to play along, fine. But it's not much of a game.
Now Wendy's single is 99 cents. Additional purchase may be required.
Count on 10. This is WTSP TV. This is Action News Tonight with John Wilson, Cheryl Brown, Dick Fletcher's weather, Al Keck with sports, and the entire Action News team.
And I don't even expect them to forgive me, and I'm not asking for it. That kind of forgiveness is of God, and if they have it, they have it. If they don't, well, maybe they'll find it someday.
They may never forgive Ted Bundy, but tonight many people feel that justice has finally been carried out with his execution. Good evening, I'm Cheryl Brown. He was a man without precedent. His odyssey of broken lives spanned a continent and a decade. And even though he was the man behind bars, in a sense, he held this country hostage as he manipulated the legal system to avoid his fate. It is now over. And our own John Wilson was a witness to the execution. He joins us live with more. John?
Cheryl, thank you. It was the 20th execution since Florida reinstated the death penalty in 1979. Now investigators in half a dozen states will be sorting out what Ted Bundy has told them and the California psychologist who had the only real interview with Ted Bundy before he was executed this morning. He looked gaunt and much older than the 42-year-old former yuppie law school dropout who manipulated the judicial system for 11 years. Two guards brought him into the death chamber and set him down on what's flippantly called Old Sparky. His last words, "Give my family and friends my love." Then a sudden jerk snapped his body back, and it was over. The body will likely be buried in a pauper's grave near the prison here at Stark. A few hours earlier, he had told that interviewer that pornography and alcohol had fueled a sexual frenzy that led him to commit more than 30 murders in half a dozen states.
And the issue is how this kind of literature contributed and helped mold and shape the kinds of violent behavior.
It fueled your fantasies, didn't it?
Well,
For the record, he spoke only with California psychologist Dr. James Dobson, who described Bundy for us in an exclusive interview.
It was too late for him to look for excuses. I think he was really trying to understand himself. And he was very clear on the videotape, if you've seen it, to say that pornography did not cause him to do the things that he did. It did not force him to do those things. He takes the responsibility for what he did.
And in a kind of ironic twist of fate, many of us who were among the 50 witnesses in the witness box watching Ted Bundy be executed have now come to the conclusion that the executioner was perhaps a woman. We will never know for sure. The identity will be kept secret forever. Action News reporter David Snepp was outside. David, I saw a very strange scene when we came out here.
It surely was, John. You know, you and I have talked about it already, but outside the prison fence this morning, Ted Bundy's execution took on the mood of a festive occasion. About 200 spectators considered themselves invited guests and, believe it or not, at one point shot off fireworks. Unlike previous executions, there was no solemn candlelight vigil for Ted Bundy.
On top of a parking, old Bundy did sit.
The atmosphere of a carnival, a town fair with everyone welcome except Ted Bundy. Some spectators wore costumes, some sold souvenir stick pins of the electric chair, and still others waved placards.
I think it's time he gets his just desserts, and he's getting them this morning.
A wave of cheers greeted a white flag signaling Bundy's death. After his long legal battle to stay alive, Bundy lost a final appeal Monday night. At 7:16 this morning, Bundy died from 2,000 volts in the state's electric chair.
He made eye contact with people in the front row. You know, he spoke to them. He was cognizant of what was going on about him. He made reference to his loved ones and to his family when he was saying his last words.
50 citizens witnessed Florida's 20th execution since 1979. But this was not just another death penalty case, but a headline-gripping story. Convicted of 3 murders in Florida, but suspected in 36 nationwide, Ted Bundy was to some here a symbol of an abused legal system.
Too long. It cost the state too much money.
But as a hearse carrying Bundy's body left the prison, others pointed to a legal system that finally delivered justice, no matter how late or how costly.
And the system worked today, and the system has been vindicated.
My personal reaction was that I'm glad it's done. I'm glad it's over.
Now that seemed to be the feeling of a lot of people here today. And again, most executions bring a lot of protesters out protesting the death penalty. That was not the case here with Ted Bundy. Even those groups seemed that they could not embrace Ted Bundy.
David, thank you. Well, the wheels of justice may turn slowly, but they do turn. There are now 296 inmates on Florida's death row. The next scheduled execution, February 1st. Cheryl?
John, what was Bundy like when they brought him in to be executed?
Well, he seemed to be angry. He seemed to be defiant, but he seemed to be boyish in a way as he recognized his chief defense counsel, James Coleman. He was a broad range of emotions. It was a study in personality, the mad maniac of Bundy and then the human being of Bundy.
John, thank you very much. As John mentioned, Ted Bundy granted his last interview to a religious broadcaster from California, a man who Bundy got to know through a mutual friend. Dave Wagner joins us live now with details of that conversation.
Cheryl, Dr. James Dobson is a Christian psychologist from California, a man who looks into the minds of people every day. And last night, for 29 minutes, he looked into the mind of serial killer Ted Bundy.
Each time I'd harm someone, each time I'd kill someone, there'd be an enormous amount, especially at first, enormous amount of horror, guilt, remorse afterwards. But then that impulse to do it again would come back even stronger.
Bundy said he was about half drunk when he killed his victims and would wake up the next day absolutely horrified about what he had done. He says the horror of those murders still haunts him. In the interview, Bundy was articulate and in control until asked about killing his last victim, 12-year-old Kimberly Leach of Lake City.
I can't really talk about that right now. That's weird. It's too painful. I would like to be able to convey to you what that experience is like, but I can't. I won't be able to talk about that. Okay.
While Bundy would not talk in detail about the murders he committed, for the first time he apologized to the victims' families.
I'm aware that I can't begin to understand the pain that the parents of these children that I have and these young women that I have harmed feel. And I can't restore really much to them, if anything. And I won't pretend to, and I don't even expect them to forgive me, and I'm not asking for it. That kind of forgiveness is of God, and if they have it, they have it. If they don't, well, maybe they'll find it someday.
On the subject of execution, Bundy said he was lonely and afraid, but stopped short of saying he deserved to be killed.
I don't want to die. I'm not going to kid you. I'll kid you not. I deserve certainly the most extreme punishment society has, and I think society deserves to be protected from me and from others like me. That's for sure.
During the interview, Bundy talked about his family, 5 brothers and sisters. Bundy said he grew up in a wonderful home with loving Christian parents. Today in Tacoma, Washington, Ted Bundy's mother, Louise, apologized by phone to the mother of one of Ted's victims.
We don't know why this happened, and we feel so desperately sorry for you. We didn't want our son to do these things. We have 2 beautiful daughters of our own, and we know how we would feel. I am sorry. I know you are. And we don't hold any resentment or hatred towards you or your family.
Now, during Ted Bundy's interview, Bundy said people should not take the easy way out and blame his family for what kind of person he was. Bundy said he takes full responsibility for what he did. Cheryl?
That is a remarkable interview, hearing the mother talk,
really
the 2
is.
mothers talk.
Sure.
She sounded devastated, didn't she?
Sure, the mother of Ted Bundy didn't know up until this Saturday, at least she didn't believe up until this Saturday, that her son was guilty. And up until the moment he died, she said that she still loved her son.
Everyone is a victim in this case.
Absolutely.
Thank you. In that final interview with Dr. James Dobson, Ted Bundy struggled to explain his monstrous behavior. He blamed pornography, violent pornography, for starting his violent obsession with sex. Action News reporter Carol Slark is standing by live at an adult bookstore with more on the potential damage of hardcore pornography. Carol, is there any scientific evidence to support Bundy's claim? Have the experts found a correlation between violent pornography and violent criminals?
Well, Cheryl, most definitely they have found a very deadly connection. You know, in that interview, Bundy mentioned finding some pornographic magazines in a dumpster in a neighborhood near his home when he was just a boy. He said these early fantasies led him on to hardcore porn and then finally to violence. It's easily accessible. You can even find it in some convenience stores. But to some personality types, pornography can be addictive.
The most damaging kinds of pornography are those that involve violence and sexual violence. Because the wedding of those 2 forces, as I know only too well, brings about behavior that is just too terrible to describe.
Bundy described himself as being in an almost trance-like state when he beat and raped women, signs, according to an expert, of a sexual addict.
They're not at all in control. They have no power over this addiction, any more than an alcoholic or a drug addict has power over his addiction.
Dr. Bonnie Sachs believes Bundy would have continued his killing spree if he hadn't been captured.
Yeah, I think he couldn't help himself. I think he probably was in an obsessive cycle and could not find an adequate substitution for that terrible need.
Like an addiction, you keep craving something which is harder, something which gives you a greater sense of excitement.
Bundy wanted to warn society about pornography, and he gave a grim prophecy.
There are lots of other kids playing in streets around this country today who are going to be dead tomorrow and the next day and the next day and next month because other young people are reading the kinds of things and seeing the kinds of things that are available in the media today.
A very scary prediction by Ted Bundy, and some of the people in law enforcement today that I spoke with, Cheryl, say that almost always if you go to the home of a violent sexual offender, 9 times out of 10 you'll find a stack of pornographic magazines there.
Carol, thank you very much. While many people tonight may feel that justice has been served with Bundy's execution, for the victims and their families left behind in Bundy's gruesome crime trail, that horror will always be with them, and we will have their reaction coming up next.
This man had just wreaked untold grief and ruined the lives of dozens of families. And I think that when you do something like that, you forfeit your right to live.
Welcome to this, the first edition of what we have decided to call Murphy in the Morning. Join us as we celebrate our 1,000th show, Wednesday at 10 on Channel 10.
The San Francisco 49ers just won the Super Bowl. What are you going to do next? Going to Disney World!
At the Olive Garden Italian restaurant, we speak a different language. We have no words for can't and won't. No phrases for a little less. In fact, we don't know the meaning of enough. Some would say speaking a different language can make all the difference in the world. The Olive Garden Italian restaurant, where all the best of Italy is yours. Come back for the endless refills of salad and garlic breadsticks that make us special.
Beers keep pouring in from all over the world, but the best beer still comes from Germany. And the best German beer in America is Beck's, the #1 imported German beer.
Rob and Stuckey's Sale of Winter ends this Monday. Save 15 to 40%. It's the annual Sale of Winter, and it's only at Rob and Stuckey.
Some people in Lake City had a celebration barbecue tonight to mark the death of the man whose shadow has haunted that town for a decade. Ted Bundy was put to death for the rape and the murder of 12-year-old Kimberly Leach of Lake City. Nearly everyone in that small community wanted Bundy dead.
It's a just ending to a modern-day horror story. That's the only best way to sum it up.
Every time he got in another appeal, he had such a smirk on his face that I could have volunteered to throw the switch if they would have let me.
I was real happy. It should have been done about 10 years ago.
The Leach family still lives in Lake City and maintains their silence following the execution. In Tallahassee, where Bundy killed 2 sorority sisters in 1978, Governor Bob Martinez gave the go-ahead for the execution early this morning.
If there's ever been anyone in Florida's death row that deserved the electric chair, Ted Bundy was that individual.
Students on the campus of Florida State University were up early this morning awaiting news of Bundy's death. Those students were in grade school when Bundy attacked Lisa Levy and Margaret Bowman in the Chi Omega sorority house, but the brutal murders have changed forever that school and its students. The memories of Ted Bundy and his brutal murders will be alive long after tonight, especially for the friends and the families who lost loved ones to Bundy's violence. Kathy Bellish brings us more reaction to the Chi Omega sorority nightmare caused by Ted Bundy.
Early morning on January 15, 1978, Ted Bundy slipped into the Chi Omega sorority house at Florida State University. Minutes later, Margaret Bowman and Lisa Levy were dead, beaten, strangled, and raped. Margaret was a 1975 graduate of St. Petersburg High School, a good student, active in clubs and athletics. Her father said this morning he had heard about Bundy's execution but didn't want to talk about it. One of the investigators in the murder case says Bundy deserved it.
We're talking about a cold, calculating murderer who has ruined the lives of lots of people. And as I bring my own conservative perspective to this, and I think that a man like that does not deserve to live it.
Lisa Levy was a majorette at Dixie Hollins High School, a 1975 graduate. Steve Parazanin taught Lisa in sociology class. She told him he was her favorite teacher.
I'm so disappointed. She'll never finish university, she'll never get married, she'll never have kids, and her parents have been denied their daughter for life. It hurts.
Lisa Levy's favorite teacher says another of his students wrote a poem today about Ted Bundy, which he says reflects the feelings of most students here. It reads, "We all must pay for our sins. We are but dust in the wind. It's an eye for an eye, so he had to fry. Goodbye, Ted Bundy, goodbye." In St. Petersburg, I'm Kathy Bellich, Action News.
And how did Ted Bundy feel about the pain that he caused so many people? Well, you will hear the answer later in our broadcast. And we'll be back with the weather in just a moment.
Honestly, I don't want to die. I'm not going to kid you. I'll kid you not. I deserve certainly the most extreme punishment.
Space, the last frontier. It's been conquered by the new Sonata from Hyundai. With 100 cubic feet of inner space, it has more passenger room than any other car in its class. That's room enough for the whole crew. And with the most powerful standard engine in its class, it can fly. The new Sonata from Hyundai, the mid-size car that makes sense.
Well, this elderly gentleman walks up to me in the pharmacy and says, "You're the pharmacist? Well, I have neckties older than you."
Eckert pharmacist Patty Carr.
Well, at first, some of my customers were surprised to see someone so young. But as soon as they realized that I knew my business and that I cared about them, it wasn't long before they were asking for me by name. Oh, thank you, Lily.
Bye-bye, Patty.
You get to feeling better, Bobby. We'll go dancing, okay?
You bet.
You know, I think they're getting used to me.
Copperfield, the magic of David Copperfield. More than a magician, a spectacular new dimension. Now with super new illusions for $19.89. David Copperfield, the man who vanished an airplane and made the Statue of Liberty disappear. David Copperfield, on stage with new illusions that defy logic, that defy your imagination. The magic of David Copperfield.
Special savings at all matinee performances courtesy of WTSP TV and the Tampa Tribune.
What's the secret of Ocean Spray's fresh, clean taste? It's our cranberries. The way we grow them. The way their tanginess blends with sweet, fresh raspberries to give you Ocean Spray Cran Raspberry. Raspberry cranberry drink. It's got a taste and refreshment you just can't get anywhere else. Ocean Spray Cran Raspberry. Go on, taste the Ocean Spray.
Your mind is not playing tricks on you. It is a little bit warmer this evening than it was this time yesterday.
Exactly right. And as a result, the overnight low will be a little bit warmer. So probably not quite as much on the heating bill.
Oh, that's good.
That's right. Over the area today, we had sunshine that allowed things to warm up. And as photographer Nelson Jones shows us in the latter part of the day, and Nelson doing something real interesting here. You can watch the sunset by watching the reflection in window buildings here, although I think we're probably seeing a lot of lights in that as well. Sun now going down a little bit after 6 o'clock in the Tampa area. At 11 o'clock, the temperature is 63 degrees at Tampa International. It's gone up 2 degrees in the past hour. It's going to go falling back down, though, before daybreak. 64 in St. Petersburg, 65 in Clearwater. Tampa temperature feels like 55 if you figure in the wind and humidity. Our dew point's at 56 degrees, humidity 78%, a rising barometer from 3022, and a northeast wind at 9 miles an hour. The high today was 75, the low this morning 46, and no rain today at the airport. Our latest Skyview satellite picture doesn't show anything at all taking place over Florida. There are a few clouds over South and North Carolina, but they're not producing any rain. Where is the action? We'll take you there as we have Skyview head west, and it is in this clump of lumpy clouds over the states of New Mexico and Colorado. And you say, wait, this is wintertime. There shouldn't be a lot of vertically developed clouds. Well, there are. As a matter of fact, in some of these clouds, they're hearing thunder at the same time snow is falling at the ground. In fact, heavy snow warnings in effect, and we show you the wider sky view of that part of the United States. Heavy snow warnings in effect for the southern mountains in south central Colorado. The San Juans and Sangre de Cristos could pick up another half a foot of snow or more. Some locations have had almost a foot of snow so far. Now to show you the flat view and again tell you what's going on. Here's the storm system we were talking about. There's an area of low pressure over El Paso right now. As it slowly moves eastward, it's going to continue to produce the snow, not only in the southern Rockies, but it'll also start to pick up right along the front range. The snow has been light so far in Denver, and a band of snow that stretches from central Nebraska northward up into the southern Canadian provinces also has been on the light side. Rain continues to fall through eastern Texas. Our forecast map for tomorrow, things don't move a great deal, and still we remain in with high pressure and dry conditions through the southeast. Highs for the nation tomorrow, warm in the east, cold in the west, with highs tomorrow in the 20s and 30s through New England, 50s and 60s for the mid-Atlantic coast states. And folks, where it's going to be snowing, 20s, and in some locations, the teens. And those are tomorrow's highs. The marine forecast for the Bay Area, Winds will be northeast tomorrow afternoon at 10 to 15 knots, seas 2 to 4 feet, Gulf temp 69 degrees. There are 4 tides tomorrow. The major high tide is first. That's 1.9 feet above mean low water at 3:20 in the morning. My forecast for tonight, mostly clear skies under a mostly full moon. By morning, 46 in Ocala, 44 in Brooksville, 52 in Tampa, St. Petersburg. Tomorrow it'll even warm up a little bit warmer than it was today, with mostly sunny skies and highs in the upper 70s. And the rest of the week in the 5-day forecast, temperatures are going to continue above normal, and it will be dry. Cheryl?
Thank you very much, Dick. Al Keck is coming up next with news from the Football Hall of Fame. The National Football League has named 4 new players to the Hall of Fame. 2 are Pittsburgh Steelers, and he will have details next in sports.
The new '89 Cadillac sedan DeVille and the Lincoln Continental. DeVille is over 9 inches longer this year. The Continental isn't. While DeVille has added more interior room, the Continental hasn't. And with DeVille's fuel-injected V8 engine, you can see the V6 Continental for what it really is. The 1989 sedan DeVille. Test drive one at your Cadillac dealers of Florida.
My mother is one of the smartest women I know. She belongs to the Senior Citizen Club at American Savings.
You know these people?
So on top of high rates, she gets free checks, free checking, big travel discounts, and more. She's got a smart son, too.
Of course.
Today, I got to join the club at American Savings because I just turned 50.
I was a child bride.
So what do you think about us senior citizens, Mom?
Speak for yourself.
American Savings. We're out to make you richer. Beginning Monday, January 30th, your morning routine will never be the same.
Many pharmacies have muffled their computers. No matter how much they're coaxed, they just won't tell you about generic savings. But at Walgreens, our pharmacy computers are customer friendly. And whenever a generic equivalent is available, they print it right on the receipt with the savings. Walgreens Intercom Pharmacy System, the customer's best friend.
Every night, 7 days a week, Walgreens turns your color film into gorgeous color pictures. Walgreens Next Day Photo Service.
This pasta will stay good for a year in your freezer. This dried linguine will outlast most marriages. And this will probably survive the next ice age. On the other hand, Contadina fresh pastas and sauces won't last very long at all. We make them fresh, and we keep them fresh, which naturally gives them a great fresh taste. Contadina fresh pastas and sauces. Our days are numbered, but we wouldn't have it any other way.
Pittsburgh Steelers are on the road. Okay, not to the Super Bowl, but something almost as good.
But something very good. You know, only a few days ago we called the 49ers a team of the 80s after winning 3 Super Bowls. Steelers won 4 Super Bowls in the 70s, and everybody's trying to match that. But for a 3rd year in a row, the Steelers are bidding a path to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Today, quarterback Terry Bradshaw and defensive back Mel Blount were elected in their first year. Also joining the Hall of Fame, Raider lineman Art Shell and Packer DB Willie Wood. Now, Miami quarterback Bob Greasy was among those nominated, but did not get enough votes this time around. Now, back to Bradshaw, quarterback the Steelers to 4 Super Bowl titles. Never won a lot of awards, but he led the Steelers to championships, and believe me, this man is honored.
And man, the hair on my back and the chills run over me for about 2 hours. And it dawned on me the magnitude of being selected to in the Hall of Fame. I said, it's just it's just unbelievable. If I could scream and holler, and I'm 40 years old, and I will when y'all leave, I'll scream and holler and shout.
Also today in the NFL, former Cleveland coach Marty Schottenheimer moved on to Kansas City. Takes over a ball club that won all of 8 games in 2 years. Remember, he led Cleveland to the playoffs 4 times in 4 years as a head coach.
My coaching philosophy is quite simple. The best way to establish a position of excellence in the National Football League is first to expect it.
Well, the Bucs announced 3 of their preseason games today. They will entertain Houston and Atlanta, travel to Indianapolis. They'll play one more road game, and that'll be announced later on. By the way, in the regular season, the Bucs will play the 49ers in Cleveland at home, Cincinnati on the road. And of course, the Bucs also play 2 games against division opponents like the Bears and Vikings. Also today, the Bucs raise their ticket prices. Top seat now goes for $25, least expensive $16. NBA action tonight. The Cleveland Cavaliers in blue take the top record in the league into Atlanta, and they run right into one, Mr. Dominic Wilkins. And take a look at this. Wilkins ends up with a career-high 41 points. Some go right over his head, and Atlanta wins it by a score of 121 to 105. When it comes to slamming and jamming, the Bulls are not about to be outdone. Horace Grant on the slam tonight against Dallas. Michael Jordan with another impressive night, shakes off a knee injury, comes back here for the pretty play, and the Bulls run up an impressive 109 to 91 victory. Scores tonight in basketball. Again, Dominic with 41 to lead Atlanta. Miami falls to Houston. The Bulls beat Dallas. Denver loses at Jersey. Seattle by 3 over Portland. Charlotte leads Phoenix at halftime. Later games now, the Lakers lead New York, and Milwaukee has a halftime lead over Sacramento. Top 20 scores in college basketball. Number 5, Missouri wins. Number 14, Syracuse over Boston College. And number 20, Providence has no trouble with Miami. What a comeback tonight for the Washington Capitals. They're entertaining the LA Kings, and they score 2 goals in the final minute. Scott Stevens to cut the King lead to 4-3. Look here with 5 seconds remaining. A diving Dave Christian with the tying score. Washington ties L.A. at 4. 3 games tonight in hockey. Again, the L.A. Kings tie Washington. The Devils tie Jersey at 2. And Chicago and Vancouver just underway. In tennis, Stefan Edberg has withdrawn from his quarterfinal match at the Australian Open. Injured his back in a 4th-round victory over Pat Cash. Tom Muster moves on to the semifinals. He'll play the winner of the Lendl-McEnroe quarterfinal. And finally, let's go back to the NBA for the play of the night and give it what else but our perfect 10. And Michael Jordan is always good for a perfect 10. He loves to slam, and look at this. Goes in slow motion, takes off from the free throw line, and slams it home. That's good for the perfect 10. Jordan, again, shakes off a bad knee, hurts his knee early on, comes back and leads Chicago over Dallas. Busy and fun night in sports.
He looked good, too, didn't
he always looks good.
Yeah, thank you very much, Al. When we come back, we will take you inside the mind of Ted Bundy. Final thoughts of the brutal serial killer in the final hours of his life. They are revealed in a half-hour-long interview, the interview in its entirety, coming up next.
There is no way in the world that killing me is going to restore those beautiful children to their parents.
Taking the lead. We won again. We won again.
Your Ford dealers here are taking the lead by offering low 4.9 financing or $500 back on the world's best-selling car, Ford Escort. Save with 4.9 financing or up to $750 back on Ranger, #1 in its class. And hurry into your Florida and South Georgia Ford dealer for 4.9 financing or up to $400 back on Festiva.
We won again. We won again.
It's sizzling hot. It's the best pizza deal you can cut. A deal that isn't skimpy. This one has real meat to it. In fact, 6 meat toppings. Pizza Hut's new Meat Lovers Pizza. Now get 1 medium for $8.99. Or better yet, get a second one for just $4 more. So come to Pizza Hut or call for delivery.
Pizza Hut, making it great.
Copperfield, the magic of David Copperfield. More than a magician, a spectacular new dimension. Now with super new illusions for 1989. David Copperfield, the man who vanished in the airplane and made the Statue of Liberty disappear. David Copperfield, on stage with new illusions that defy logic, that defy your imagination. The magic of David Copperfield.
Special savings at all matinee performances courtesy of WTSP TV and the Tampa Tribune.
The new Cutlass Supreme has front-wheel drive. Thunderbird and Cougar don't. The new Cutlass Supreme comes with a 3-year, 50,000-mile bumper-to-bumper warranty. Thunderbird and Cougar don't. And the new Cutlass Supreme is priced more than $1,500 less than either the '89 Thunderbird or Cougar. Why settle for a cat or a bird? Put yourself in the catbird seat in the new generation Olds Cutlass Supreme.
Buy a new Supreme and get a year's supply of gasoline free.
See your Bay Area Oldsmobile dealer.
And now, in place of Nightline, Action News will present Ted Bundy's last interview. It was conducted by Dr. James Dobson of California. In it, we see a Ted Bundy we haven't seen before, a Ted Bundy who admits his guilt, who is remorseful, and who warns America about the evils of pornography. This interview was conducted just hours before his execution, as Ted Bundy stared death in the face.
Ted, it is about 2:30 in the afternoon. You are scheduled to be executed tomorrow morning at 7 o'clock if you don't receive another stay. What is going through your mind? What thoughts have you had in these last few days?
Well, I won't kid you to say that it's something that I feel that I'm in control of, or something that I've come to terms with, because I haven't. It's a moment by moment thing. Sometimes I feel very tranquil, and other times I don't feel tranquil at all. What's going through my mind right now is to use the minutes and hours that I have left as fruitfully as possible and see what happens. It helps to live in the moment, in the essence that we use it productively. Right now I'm feeling calm, and in large part because I'm here with you.
For the record, you are guilty of killing many women and girls. Is that correct?
Yes, that's true.
Ted, how did it happen? Take me back. What are the antecedents of the behavior that we've seen? So much grief, so much sorrow, so much pain for so many people. Where did it start? How did this moment come about?
That's the question of the hour, and one that not only people much more intelligent than I have been working on for years, but one that I've been working on for years and trying to understand. Is there enough time to explain it all? I don't know. I think I understand it, though. Understand what happened to me, to the extent that I can see how certain feelings and ideas were developed in me to the point where I began to act out on them. Certain very violent and very destructive feelings.
All right, let's go back then to those roots. First of all, you, as I understand it, were raised in what you considered to have been a healthy home.
Absolutely.
You were not physically abused, you were not sexually abused, you were not emotionally abused.
No way. And that's part of the tragedy of this whole situation, is because I grew up in a wonderful home with two dedicated and loving parents and one of 5 brothers and sisters. A home where we as children were the focus of my parents' lives, where we regularly attended church with 2 Christian parents who did not drink, they did not smoke, there was no gambling, there was no physical abuse or fighting in the home. I'm not saying this was Leave It to Beaver.
It wasn't a perfect home.
Well, no, I don't know that such a home exists, but it was a fine, solid Christian home, and nobody, I hope no one will try to take the easy way out and to try to blame or otherwise accuse my family of contributing to this, because I know, and I'm trying to tell you as honestly as I know how, what happened, and I think this is a message I want to get across. But as a young boy, and I mean the boy of 12 or 13, certainly, that I encountered outside the home again, in the local grocery store, the local drugstore, the softcore pornography, what people call softcore. But as I think I explained to you last night, Dr. Dobson, in an anecdote, as young boys do, we explored the back roads and sideways and byways of our neighborhood, and oftentimes people would dump the garbage and whatever they were cleaning out of their house, and from time to time we'd come across pornographic books of a harder nature than more graphic, you might say, more explicit nature than we would encounter, let's say, in your local grocery store. And this also included such things as, let's say, detective magazines and more
Those that involve violence. Then.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
And this is something I think I want to emphasize is the most damaging kinds of pornography. Again, I'm talking from personal experience, hard, real personal experience. The most damaging kinds of pornography are those that involve violence and sexual violence. Because the wedding of those two forces, as I know only too well, brings about behavior that is just too terrible to describe.
Now, walk me through that. What was going on in your mind at that time?
Okay, before we go any further, I think it's important to me that people believe what I'm saying, to tell you that I'm not blaming pornography. I'm not saying that it caused me to go out and do certain things. And I take full responsibility for whatever I've done and all the things I've done. That's not the question here. The question and the issue is how this kind of literature contributed and helped mold and shape the kinds of violent behavior.
It fueled your fantasies, didn't it?
Well, in the beginning, it fuels this kind of thought process. Then, at a certain time, it's instrumental in what I would say crystallizing it, making into something which is almost like a separate entity inside. And at that point, you're at the verge, or I was at the verge of acting out on these kinds of.
Now, I really want to understand that. You had gone about as far as you could go in your own fantasy life with printed material, and you made or printed and video or film or photos, yeah. And then there was the urge to take that little step or big step over to a physical event.
And it happens. It happened in stages, gradually. It doesn't necessarily, not to me at least, happen overnight. My experience with, I'd say, pornography generally, but with pornography that deals on a violent level with sexuality, is that once you become addicted to it, and I look at this as a kind of addiction, like other kinds of addiction, I would keep looking for more potent, more explicit, more graphic kinds of material. Like an addiction, you keep craving something which is harder, something which gives you a greater sense of excitement. Until you reach the point where the pornography only goes so far, you reach that jumping off point where you begin to wonder if maybe actually doing it will give you that which is beyond just reading about it or looking at it.
How long did you stay at that point before you actually assaulted someone?
Well, yeah, you see, that is a very delicate point in my own development. And we're talking about having reached the point or a gray area that surrounded that point over the course of
You don't remember
years.
how long that was?
I would say a couple of years. And what I was dealing with there were very strong inhibitions against criminal behavior or violent behavior that had been conditioned into me, bred into me in my environment, in my neighborhood, in my church, in my school. Things that said, no, this is wrong. I mean, even to think of it as wrong, but certainly to do it is wrong. And I'm on that edge, and you might say the last vestiges of restraint. The barriers to actually doing something were being tested constantly and assailed through the kind of fantasy life that was fueled largely by pornography.
Do you remember what pushed you over that edge? Do you remember the decision to go for it? Do you remember where you decided to throw caution to the wind?
Again, when you say pushed, I know what you're saying. I don't want to refer again.
I understand that.
That I was
clear.
some helpless kind of a victim, and yet we're talking about an influence that is the influence of violent types of media, violent pornography, which was an indispensable link in the chain of behavior, the chain of events that led to the behaviors, to the assaults, to the murders, and what have it's a very difficult thing to describe. The sensation of of reaching that point where I knew that it was like something had, say, snapped, that I knew that I couldn't control it anymore, that these barriers that I had learned as a child, that had been instilled in me, were not enough to hold me back with respect to seeking out and harming somebody.
Would it be accurate to call that a frenzy, a sexual frenzy?
Well, yes, that's one way to describe it. A compulsion, a building up of this destructive energy. Another factor here that I haven't mentioned is the use of alcohol. But I think that what alcohol did, in conjunction with, let's say, my exposure to pornography, was alcohol reduced my inhibitions. At the same time, the fantasy life that was fueled by pornography eroded them further.
In the early days, you were nearly always about half drunk when you did these things. Is that right?
Yes.
Was that always true?
I would say that was generally the case, almost without exception.
All right, if I can understand it now, there's this battle going on within. There are the conventions that you've been taught. There's the right and wrong that you learned as a child. And then there is this unbridled passion fueled by your plunge into hardcore violent pornography. And those things are at war with each other.
Yes.
And then with the alcohol diminishing the inhibitions, you let go.
Well, yes, and you can summarize it that way, and that's accurate, certainly. And it just occurred to me that some people would say that, well, I've seen that stuff and it doesn't do anything to me. And I can understand that. Virtually everyone can be exposed to so-called pornography, and while they're aroused to it to one degree or another, not go out and do anything wrong.
Addictions are like that. They affect some people more than they affect others. Wow. But there is a percentage of people affected by hardcore pornography in a very violent way, and you're obviously one of them.
That was a major component, and I don't know why I was vulnerable to it. All I know is that it had an impact on me that was just so central to the development of the violent behavior that I engaged in.
Ted, after you committed your first murder, what was the emotional effect on you? What happened in the days after that?
Again, please understand that even all these years later, it's very difficult to talk about it, and reliving it through talking about it is difficult to say the least, but I want you to understand what happened. It was like coming out of some kind of horrible trance or dream. I can only liken it to after, I don't want to over-dramatize it, but to have been possessed by something so awful and so alien, and then the next morning wake up from it, remember what happened, and realize that basically, in the eyes of the law, certainly in the eyes of God, you're responsible. To wake up in the morning and realize what I had done, and with a clear mind and all my essential moral and ethical feelings intact at that moment, absolutely horrified that I was capable of doing something like that.
You really hadn't known that before?
There is just absolutely no way to describe. First, the brutal urge to do that kind of thing, and then what happens is once it has been more or less satisfied and recede, you might say, or spent, that sense, that kind of energy level recedes, and basically I became myself again. And I want people to understand this too, and I'm not saying this gratuitously, because it's important people understand this. But basically, I was a normal person. I wasn't some guy hanging out at bars or a bum, or I wasn't a pervert in the sense that, you know, people look at somebody and say, I know there's something wrong with him, and just tell. I mean, I was essentially a normal person. I had bars or a bum, or I wasn't a pervert in the sense that, you know, people look at somebody and say, I know there's something wrong with him, and just tell. I mean, I was essentially a normal person. I had good friends. I led a normal life, except for this one small but very potent and very destructive segment of it that I kept very secret and very close to myself and didn't let anybody know about it. And part of the shock and horror for my dear friends and family years ago when I was first arrested was that there was no clue. They looked at me and they looked at the all-American boy. And I mean, I wasn't perfect, but I want to be quite candid with you. I was okay. Okay, I was. And the basic humanity and the basic spirit that God gave me was intact, but unfortunately it became overwhelmed at times. And I think people need to recognize that it's not some kind of those of us who have been so much influenced by violence in the media, in particular pornographic violence, are not some kinds of inherent monsters. We are your sons and we are your husbands. And we grew up in regular families. And pornography can reach out and snatch a kid out of any house today. He snatched me out of my home. It snatched me out of my home 20, 30 years ago. And as diligent as my parents were, and they were diligent in protecting their children, and as good a Christian home as we had, and we had a wonderful Christian home, there is no protection against the kinds of influences that are loose in a society that tolerates.
You feel this really deeply, don't you? Ted, outside these walls right now, there are several hundred reporters that wanted to talk to you.
Yeah.
And you asked me to come here from California because you had something you wanted to say. This hour that we have together is not just an interview with a man who's scheduled to die tomorrow morning. I'm here and you're here because of this message that you're talking about right here. You really feel that hardcore pornography and the doorway to it, softcore pornography, is doing untold damage to other people and causing other women to be abused and killed the way you did others.
Listen, I'm no social scientist, and I haven't done a survey. I mean, I don't pretend that I know what John Q. Citizen thinks about this. But I've lived in prison for a long time now. And I've met a lot of men who were motivated to commit violence just like me. And without exception, every one of them was deeply involved in pornography, without question, without exception, deeply influenced and consumed by an addiction to pornography. There's no question about it. The FBI's own study on serial homicide shows that the most common interest among serial killers is pornography.
Yeah, that's true.
And it's real. It's true.
Ted, what would your life have been like without that influence? You can only speculate.
Yeah. Well, I know it would have been far better, not just for me, and it's, excuse me for being so self-centered here. It would have been a lot better for me and lots of other people. I know that. Lots of other innocent people, victims and families. it would have been a lot better. There's no question, but it would have been a fuller life. Certainly a life that would not have involved, I'm absolutely certain, would not have involved this kind of violence that I have committed.
I'm sure, Ted, if I were able to ask you the questions that are being asked out there, one of the most important as you come down to perhaps your final hours, are you thinking about all those victims out there and their families who are so wounded, years later, their lives have not returned to normal. They will never return to normal.
Absolutely.
Are you carrying that load, that weight? Is the remorse there?
Again, I know that people will accuse me of being self-serving, but we're beyond that now. I mean, I'm just telling you how I feel. But through God's help, I have been able to come to the point where much too late, but better late than never, feel the hurt and the pain that I am responsible for. Yes, absolutely. In the past few days, myself and a number of investigators have been talking about unsolved cases, murders that I was involved in. And it's hard to talk about all these years later because it revives in me all those terrible feelings and those thoughts that I have steadfastly and diligently dealt with, and I think successfully, with the love of God. And yet it's reopened that, and I felt the pain, and I felt the horror again of all that. And I can only hope that those who I have harmed, those who I've caused so much grief, even if they don't believe my expression of sorrow and remorse, will believe what I'm saying now, that there is loose in their towns and their communities people like me today whose dangerous impulses are being fueled day in and day out by violence in the media in its various forms, particularly sexualized violence. And what scares me, and let's come into the present now, because what I'm talking about happened 30 years ago, that is, in my formative stages. And what scares and appalls me, Dr. Dobson, is when I see what's on cable TV, some of the movies, some of the violence in the movies that come into homes today with stuff that they wouldn't show in X-rated adult theaters 30 years ago. This stuff...
The slasher movies that you're talking about.
That stuff is, I'm telling you, from personal experience, the most, that is graphic violence on screen, particularly as it gets into the home to children who may be unattended or unaware that they may be a Ted Bundy who has that vulnerability to that predisposition to be influenced by that kind of behavior, by that kind of movie, that kind of violence. There are kids sitting out there switching the TV dial around and come upon these movies late at night, or I don't know when they're on, but they're on and any kid can watch them. It's scary when I think what would have happened to me if I had seen. I mean, scary enough. I mean, that I just ran into stuff outside the home, but to know that children are watching that kind of thing today, or can pick up their phone and dial away for it or send away for it.
Can you help me understand this desensitization process that took place? What was going on in your mind?
Well, by desensitization, I describe it in specific terms is that each time I'd harm someone, each time I'd kill someone, there'd be an enormous amount, especially at first, enormous amount of horror, guilt, remorse afterwards. But then that impulse to do it again would come back even stronger. Now, believe me, the unique thing about how this worked, Dr. Dobson, is that I still felt in my regular life the full range of guilt and remorse about other things. regret. And
but you had this compartmentalized,
very well focused, very sharply focused area where it was like a black hole. It was like a, like a crack, and everything that fell into that crack just disappeared. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. One of the final murders that you committed, of course, was apparently little Kimberly Leach, 12 years of age. I think the public outcry is greater there because an innocent child was taken from a playground. What did you feel after that? Were there the normal emotions 3 days later? Where were you, Ted?
I can't really talk about that right now. That's
too painful.
I would like to. I'd like to be able to convey to you what that experience is like, but I can't. I won't be able to talk about that.
Okay.
I can't begin to understand. Well, I can try, but I'm aware that I can't begin to understand the pain that the parents of these children that I have, and these young women that I have harmed, feel. And I can't restore really much to them, if anything. I won't pretend to, and I don't even expect them to forgive me, and I'm not asking for it. That kind of forgiveness is of God, and if they have it, they have it. If they don't, well, maybe they'll find it someday.
Do you deserve the punishment the state has inflicted upon you?
That's a very good question. And I'll answer it very, very honestly. I don't want to die. I'm not going to kid you. I'll kid you not. I deserve certainly the most extreme punishment society has, and I think society deserves to be protected from me and from others like me. That's for sure. I think what I hope will come of our discussion is I think society deserves to be protected from itself, because as we've been talking, there are forces at loose in this country, particularly, again, this kind of violent pornography, where, on the one hand, well-meaning, decent people will condemn behavior of a Ted Bundy while they're walking past a magazine rack full of the very kinds of things that send young kids down the road to be Ted Bundys. That's the irony. We're talking here not just about more. What I'm talking about is going beyond retribution, which is what people want with me. Going beyond retribution and punishment, because there is no way in the world that killing me is going to restore those beautiful children to their parents and correct and soothe the pain. But I'll tell you, there are lots of other kids playing in streets around this country today who are going to be dead tomorrow and the next day and the next day and next month, because other young people are reading the kinds of things and seeing the kinds of things that are available in the media today.
Ted, as you would imagine, there's tremendous cynicism about you on the outside, and I suppose for good reason. I'm not sure that there's anything that you could say that people would believe. Some people would believe.
Yeah.
And yet, you told me last night, and I have heard this through our mutual friend John Tanner, that you have accepted the forgiveness of Jesus Christ and are a follower and a believer in him. Do you draw strength from that as you approach these final hours?
I do. I can't say that
it's going to be
being
easy.
in the valley of the shadow of death is something that I've become all that accustomed to, and that I'm strong and nothing's bothering me. Listen, it's no fun. It gets kind of lonely, and yet I have to remind myself that every one of us will go through this someday, in one way or another.
It's appointed unto man.
And countless millions who have walked this earth before us have. So this is just an experience which we all share. And
yeah.
Here I am.
Ted Bundy's last interview. I'm Cheryl Brown. Good night.
My mother is one of the smartest women I know. She belongs to the Senior Citizen Club at American Savings.
You know these people?
So on top of high rates, she gets free checks, free checking, big travel discounts, and more. She's got a smart son, too.
Of course.
Today, I got to join the club at American Savings because I just turned 50.
I was a child bride.
So what do you think about us senior citizens, Mom?
Speak for yourself.
American Savings. We're out to make you richer.
Copperfield, the magic of David Copperfield. More than a magician, a spectacular new dimension. Now with super new illusions for 1989. David Copperfield, the man who vanished in an airplane and made the Statue of Liberty disappear. David Copperfield, on stage with new illusions that defy logic, that defy your imagination. The magic of David Copperfield.
Special savings at all matinee performances courtesy of WTSP TV and the Tampa Tribune.
This is the same. This is different. This is a rut. This is a change. This is boring. This is interesting. This is yesterday. This is tomorrow. This is everywhere. These are only at Arby's. Taste the Arby's difference.
Now taste the Arby's difference with big savings. Arby's delicious roast beef deluxe is only 99 cents for a limited time. Only at Arby's.
Your morning routine will never be the same.